We are here with a new visual novel that came out in July called Cabin Fever. This is a some kind of a romance story is all I know, but it is getting really positive reviews, 97% positive reviews as of this time, with I think around 160, 170 reviews right now. So my question is this game getting such high reviews because the visual novel is really well written and a good story? Or is it getting really high reviews simply because it has an adult DLC up patch that I guess will give you nudity or adult content for just a couple of bucks. So it is a $10 title. Of course, I did not buy the adult content DLC. I'm not really into that. What I really like is a good visual novel. Hopefully we can find some answers to Cabin Fever. I have one in the configuration and set it up so that the protagonist, who is me, is a male voice. I set the music so it's a little bit louder, so hopefully it can be heard. We'll maybe move that up even a little bit louder. Sound effects are probably good. Voices are down just a little bit because it was pretty loud. But let's go ahead and jump in now and see if Cabin Fever is worthy of the 97% positive hype that it has on Steam right now. Let's go ahead and jump in. Again, it's going to confirm you. We're just going to say our character's name is Gus. Sure. And here you can check the voice or voice too.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going?
So you're gonna meet another female in the game. So I guess are you gonna be a female yourself, or are you gonna be a guy? And it depends on what kind of story you want to play, I guess. So let's go ahead and confirm. And again, we have a reminder: this game contains sensitive content that is intended for mature audiences. For more information about our content warnings, visit here. Please confirm that you're over the age of 13. And I would ask the same thing of you. If you're not over the age of 13, make sure you get some parental guidance and a parental approval before you watch this live stream. I do have all my live streams marked as adult content anyway here on Twitch and on YouTube as well. So Chapter 1, Prologue.
I don't remember much about the world before the sickness.
Ooh, that makes it sound like kind of like what we're going through now, right? COVID?
I was just a kid when it started, too young to fully grasp all the changes happening across the globe. Looking back, it was as though some cosmic clearance bin of trashy dystopian paperbacks was spilling plot points out onto reality. You had your unknown virus, your slow-to-act world leaders, your extremists, deniers on one end, doomsday preppers on the other, and overall just a heck of a lot of scandal and angst. What it boiled down to was this: stay away from each other.
Right. That does sound like a lot of what we've been through the past, year and a half now? About a year and a half now we've been dealing with it. And we're hoping that the mutations that don't cause more shutdowns and stuff like that, as they already are starting, more shutdowns are happening in parts of the world. But hopefully we don't, shut down as much as we had to about a year ago.
Yep, that's simple. Stay away. Because the sickness mutated so rapidly, spread so easily, and killed so many, that preventing transmission was the only way to stop it from wiping out the human race.
Yep.
A cure could be developed, they told us. Would be developed, they promised.
It almost makes me wonder if the developers of this visual novel started working on this about a year and a half ago when COVID started. COVID was a big scare before we even knew if there was or would be a vaccination, as we already know there is now. But I bet you they started this, about a year and a half ago when COVID was a big mystery. That would be my guess.
Somehow. Someday. Life changed. Everything from school and work to medical appointments and family dinners became virtual.
Yep.
And as it turns out, hosting an online society requires a lot of computer programming.
Sure.
Like, a lot. Lucky for me, I'd always had a knack for stuff like that. It was easy to get trained and even easier to find work. When's the last time you heard a young person say that, huh? I did programming for medical services, government websites, automated manufacturing. There was no shortage of freelance contracts. Of course, places like movie theaters, shopping malls, and restaurants died out. Even farms and factories became rare. So much of the workforce lost. But to be honest, I personally thought all of it was a net gain for the planet. Fewer people meant less pollution. War and terrorism dropped to an all-time low. Most people learned to be at least somewhat self-sufficient.
Okay. So this visual novel is obviously taking the whole COVID, what happened with COVID, at least so far, to the extreme. Yeah, we didn't lose that many people that it, you know. Yeah, look how it says closed due to Vivid 22. Yeah, definitely a Vivid 22. That says it all right there.
As for me?
I like the art, though.
Well, since my parents both died not long after my high school graduation, I was probably more self-sufficient than most.
Okay.
I was alone for a long time. Long enough to be used to it.
Yeah, being alone sucks. Like,
at least I was healthy. I had my routine, with lots of work to keep me busy and the internet at my fingertips to keep me from getting bored. What more could I have wanted?
right? Chapter 2 already. And so I'm reading part of the same guy. So I'll be reading part of it, kind of like, you know, what I'm thinking or whatever. And then I guess we'll hear his voice when he's actually talking to somebody. I lived in an off-grid cabin that had been in my family for years. When I was young, we used to visit every summer, just to get away from it all. I'd probably call that ironic, but every time I say the word, someone tells me that I'm using it wrong. Anyway, when the sickness started spreading, that cabin became a place to survive. It had everything a small family could need. So it sounds like, you know, my parents died when I had graduated, or, you know, around the time I graduated. And this was kind of our family cabin, so my parents' cabin. I'm sure they willed it off to me, and now it's my cabin. So a small family, my parents and me. Didn't mention anything about having any siblings, so I can assume I was an only child. And that's why I'm alone now, because, you know, my parents died. Now because of COVID, I'm kind of in quarantine, and I'm up here in this cabin. Yeah, that would definitely get lonely pretty quick, I think. Even though, like I say, I love the art style here. I love the sound of the rain and the wind. This is a well-done visual novel. Though, like I said, by this time, I was the sole member of my bubble. Exactly. So his parents died off, he's the only person left in the family. I was used to taking care of myself. On a good day, with the sun shining onto the solar panels, I could get 30 kilowatts per hour, more than enough to power the appliances in the house and keep the battery being full. And since the cabin sat near the mountains, I'd often get a decent power level at night, with a wind turbine catching the air coming off the ridge. So he has both solar panels and like a windmill or whatever, bring in power. That's cool. Very smart. Welcome to the stream. But that night, on this rainy night, it was raining. Raining hard. Like most evenings, I spent this one on my computer playing my favorite idle clicker game. There's a lot of clicker games. I think the most popular one right now is that cookie clicker on Steam. I can't believe how many purchases and how many people are playing that damn game. I think last time I checked, it was around 70,000 people playing at the time I checked. Unreal. Anyway, he's playing a idle clicker game and browsing the web for news. The news was mostly doom and gloom, of course. But I liked finding the odd tech or space-related articles sprinkled in. That sounds like an email or something. I was thinking about how badly I wanted aliens to be real when an email alert danced in the corner of my screen. Yep. I opened it. Ah, yet another forward from one of my more gullible work colleagues about a possible cure for the death-dealing virus. This particular claim apparently stemmed from a breakthrough in the study of bovine bodily function.
What a load of bullshit. Literally. Good one.
Right? I was pretty much the only one. I was pretty much the only company I had anymore. So yeah, I talked to myself quite a lot. I deleted the email, letting out a heavy sigh. There was a point in time when I found that sort of thing amusing. The ridiculous conspiracy theories and clickbait titles. But now, I just found them sad. I glanced at the clock. Time for tea. I put the computer to sleep mode and headed into the kitchen. On my way there, I accidentally kicked a broomstick laying across the floor.
Ow! Ow!
Ouch!
Ow! Why is that even there? I never sweep.
In that moment, I judged myself. Hard. Oh well, the world had basically ended, so what was the point of cleaning up now? It wasn't like I expected any company. I kicked the broom aside and just carried on. In the kitchen, I steeped a nice big cup of herbal tea. Then I tossed my used tea bag onto the compost bin, noting as I did it, the tea bin was nearly full. I'd have to take it out soon, empty it into the tumbler with the rest of my food scraps and plant waste. Then, probably in the spring, I'd add fresh compost to the garden, give my plants a healthy nutrient boost. I loved my plant. I wanted them to be strong in case they ever needed to defend the cabin from the zombies. Plants versus zombies, oh I love that, that's funny. I love my plants. I wanted them to be strong in case they ever needed to defend the cabin from zombies or traveling salespeople. That's pretty cute. Pretty clever. Working to myself, I stood in the kitchen and sipped my tea. The only sound was the muffled rush of the rain outside. It was so peaceful. What the hell? Who the hell was that? Sounded like a woman. Sounded like a woman. Who was it? What was that? What I just said. A fox prowling outside? A raccoon? No, I don't think that was a fox or a raccoon, man. Yeah, this guy has been alone way too long. There wasn't a person in my garden, was there? I went to the window, peering out into the darkness and listening hard.
I don't have to go out there and check, do I? I mean, someone could be in trouble. But then again, someone could be trouble.
Oh, yeah? True.
Maybe just stand on the porch and yell for whoever it is to get off the lawn?
Get off my goddamn lawn! That didn't sound like somebody that would cause trouble. It sounded like somebody that was in trouble. Like, it sounded like a gal that was... She fell down? I don't know. I weighed my options. Go outside and investigate the noise, stay inside and lock all the doors. It sounds like a female and I'm a guy. Hell no, am I not going to be scared of a fucking female voice. Like, I'm going outside and investigating with a flashlight. Like, if I'm not scared, I'll take this fucking knife with me. Right? The scream really had sounded like a human. I couldn't just ignore that. As much as I wanted to stay inside, warm and dry...
I was raised by humanitarian hippies, and all I got was this pesky conscience. Kidding. Love you, Mom and Dad. Please don't haunt me.
Oh my god. I set down my tea, went to find my crank-powered flashlight, and shoved my feet into a pair of boots. Hopefully, and probably, I wouldn't find anything out there, but checking was the right thing to do. I would agree. I opened the door and stepped out onto the porch. The flashlight flickered pathetically. Luckily, all you needed to power up a hand crank flashlight is your hands, which I had. I scanned the dark garden. Raindrops lit up as the light passed over them, and the trees and shrubs around the cabin swayed. I can imagine this. I like the way the music is done here. Like, the music is now suspenseful. Like, who is it? All I could hear was wind and rain. A chill ran down my back.
Yo, anybody out here? No? Cool. Have a good night then.
I turned my head back inside. A small voice stopped me in my tracks.
Hello? I'm here. Would you mind, helping me out of this, please?
Helping me out of this? What the hell? The rain seemed to beat down harder as my pulse sped up. I turned my flashlight toward the voice, my hand visibly trembling. Oh, wow.
It sure is cold out. I'm definitely not shaking out of fear, because that would be super lame.
I forced myself to step down off the porch and follow the path, until finally I was close enough to make out the shape of the person. As the weak flashlight beam illuminated more, I gasped. Oh, wow. Blue hair and all. Whoever I'd been expecting to find, it certainly wasn't the delicate wisp of a girl. She was so pale, she almost looked like a ghost. Even her hair, long and clinging to her face in the rain, shone bright, almost white in the glow of my flashlight. Crouched on her hands and knees in the mud, as though she'd fallen. 100 questions raced through my head. Where the hell did she come from? How long had she been out in the storm? And why wasn't she dressed for the rain? Was she lost? Sick? I tried to sound tough, like my dad would have.
You there! What are you doing on my property?
Again, I love the music here. And the art. Guys, I'm not really into anime or anything like that, but you can't deny that the art here is very well done. I mean, I wish I could draw like that. Like, anime eyes are always big and everything like that. But one thing I really love about these visual novels, especially really well done ones with great art, is you can always tell the expression in the faces, and I love that. It's one thing I love about good visual novels is the art's really well done, and you can tell the emotion done in the faces, and it's one thing I love about them. Hopefully this one is a good story. We'll find out. Right now it's a little bit cheeky, I can't lie. Hopefully it gets better. The young woman squinted against the flashlight.
Please? I got lost and I promise I wasn't trying to steal anything.
The voice acting's not bad. I've definitely played a lot worse. Her voice quivered, which I thought was kind of dumb. After all, she was the interloper. It was me who should be freaking out, which I was.
Well, then explain yourself! Why are you just laying on the ground there? Seems pretty sus.
Pretty sus. Why the heck did I add that last part? What was I trying to do? Lighten the mood? The girl turned her head away. Was she trying to make me feel bad? Was she, God forbid, stifling a cough? I took a step back, unwilling to take any chances. Well, I can see why the guy would be...
Can't get up.
I can see why the guy would be kind of standoffish. He doesn't know this gal. She's on her, his property. But yeah, I think he's being a little bit too fearful here. And he says I can't get up. Her matter-of-fact tone surprised me. Guess I was expecting some elaborate sob story. It could be a trick, I thought. It could be getting ready to rob me. Yeah, this is a little bit too much. Like, come on, man. I guess if the world really was in isolation and, the COVID virus had gotten way worse and, she might have that. She might, a lot of people are out of work, out of money, and, it could have got really bad. Kind of, every man for himself without much law. Kind of like the Walking Dead show where, people play pranks on people and try to scam people. I guess I could see him being a little bit hesitant, or a lot more hesitant than what you would think. At this point, my flashlight was starting to lose its brightness. I stood there, cranking the handle to power the flashlight back up. It was a long, awkward intermission, backed by the droning sound of the flashlight being worked. The light was coming back on. I wound the crank a few more times to shine it brighter on her. The whole horrifying picture became clear. Oh shit. Yeah, I think there's a lot of guys that would love to see a woman like that on their lawn, on their property, I'm just saying. Anyway. Yeah, she stepped in a fucking bear trap. Hopefully it's not my bear trap. You can see the blood. Well, I can see why she winced now. Somehow, the girl had gotten her leg caught in one of my animal traps. He got one of his traps. Now he's got to feel like a complete fucking douchebag. Or, I guess I'm playing this guy, so I got to feel like a complete fucking douche now. She must not have seen the rusted out thing in the dark. And it had grabbed her calf and torn it open. Ow! Okay, so this probably wasn't a trick. Yeah, it'd be a pretty elaborate trick. I still wonder what the hell she's doing here. What the hell, you know, why is she dressed like this out in the rain? And if my cabin really is far away from anything else, like, yeah, what the hell is she doing out here in a big thunderstorm?
Oh my god! Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm freaking out now. I started to move towards her, but then my own legs froze me in fear. Fear of getting close to another human. If she was sick, then I could get sick. But then I had no way of knowing whether or not she carried the virus, and right now she was hurt and trapped, all because of me. I felt horrible. Yeah, that'd make you feel pretty guilty. If I left her to fend for herself, anything could happen. A hungry bear might come along, the weather could turn freezing, and even if she did manage to get herself out of the trap, she would probably develop an infection fast with such a nasty wound. Swallowing hard, I clenched my fist and forced myself to approach her. I had to get way too close for comfort, but I crouched, opened the trap, and freed her leg. Yeah, I think that's the least you can do, man. It was bleeding pretty heavily, though now I could see it up close. It didn't look as deep as I had feared.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you found me. I was afraid I'd be trapped in that thing all night.
I stood up quickly and took a few steps back. For some reason, the girl was smiling at me. Didn't she understand that it was my stupid fault that she had gotten hurt? Then again, maybe she shouldn't have to be sneaking around in the dark. Or maybe she shouldn't have been sneaking around in the dark. My brain bickered with itself over who was to blame before realizing the girl wasn't able to get to her feet. I reluctantly offered a hand, wishing I thought to put on some nitrile gloves. But why would I have thought of that? I hadn't seen another human in... How long had it been now? Accepting my help, the girl climbed to her feet. She wobbled, leaned in, and grabbed my waist to use me as a crutch. Poor girl.
Sorry. Is it okay that I'm touching you like this?
I think you're fine. Her words sent a chill down my spine. Itching? The thought of it made me break out in a cold sweat.
It's fine. Let's just get out of this rain.
What was I doing? When had I decided to let her into my house? The warm light glowing inside the cabin was like a beacon, drawing us in. Well, said my brain to myself, I guess this is the thing we're doing now. I no longer needed my flashlight, so I tucked it away, used that hand instead to help support the injured girl up the pathway. With my arm around her waist and her arm around my shoulder, it became very clear to me how small she really was. She was small and delicate, like a folded paper crane, a soggy, limp paper crane in a drenched dress that clung to her shivering body. Just then, my pant leg caught on something. Oh boy, I ripped my pants, huh? A nail jutting out from the side of the porch. I felt the fabric tug and rip as we moved past. Oh, great. What an evening this was turning out to be. Once we made it inside, I helped the stranger sit down on a wooden chair. I made a mental note to disinfect that chair later, and my clothes, maybe even the flashlight. But first, we need some first aid. AC, I've been here for 5 seconds, and you've already bear-trapped women, then staring at their butt while you stockholm them into going into your cabin in the woods. Hey, man, sounds like a good visual novel to me, right? We'll see if this thing gets better or if it stays pretty cheesy. We'll see.
Where did I put that kit?
This game is getting 97% positive reviews, but I'm starting to wonder if that's because this particular visual novel, like I said, has an adult content DLC that you can buy that I assume gives you nudity or something. I don't typically buy those DLCs for this kind of a game. A lot of them don't have it, but this particular one does, and it might be why this game's getting such high reviews. I don't know. We'll see. So anyways, looking for the first aid kit. Welcome to the stream, AC. I was never good at staying organized. Even on my computer, all my folders and internet tabs were a mess. No point finding entropy. That was my philosophy. I searched the drawers, the counter, the floor, and nearly tripped over that dumb broom again before finally finding the first aid kit. It was not well stocked, but it would do for now. I gathered up some towels and my forehead, a thermometer as well. Then I washed my hands, pulled some gloves on, and a face mask from an old box in the back of the cupboard, and brought everything over to the waiting girl.
Before anything else, let me scan your temperature.
I held the scanner up to her forehead. 2 seconds later passed before we heard the good beep, which meant her temperature was normal. Well, that's good.
No fever. That's a relief. Do you have any other symptoms?
Her eyes widened, shook her head. While it was still better to be cautious, I barely breathed as I took her leg into my lap and started tending on her wound. Yeah, AC says it's because the first 20 minutes involve staring at a butt. Something like that. Yeah, look at those eyes. She didn't wince or complain at all. That looks like a bad cut. Ouch. She was tougher than she looked. I was the opposite. I knew I looked mean even though I wasn't trying. But on the inside, I was basically a fluffy yellow duckling with anxiety. So I'm a wimp inside, huh? Oh god, now it's a foot fetish. If our situation were reversed and it was my leg all cut up like that, I'd probably been a weepy wreck spouting rare and extravagant curse words. Yep, probably me as well. You just sat there, quietly watching.
Are you a doctor?
Am I a doctor? Was she joking?
Do you honestly think I look like a doctor?
Shit. Way to draw attention to your looks, idiot, I thought to myself. Well, not that I cared, really. It was just that I hadn't combed my hair in a few days, or was it weeks now? And I'd been living in the same set of clothes for a while now, a ratty old t-shirt with a rocket ship on the front, and a pair of jeans that had been long gone out of fashion. Haha, you see. Hot, right? In another life, I might have felt self-conscious. Not about my teeth, though. Never about my teeth. Dentists were kind of a thing of the past, and since I wanted to keep my teeth, for chewing purposes and whatnot, I was committed to practicing good oral hygiene.
Well, I'm not sure what a doctor looks like, but you seem to know what you're doing, and you're a very kind person. So I believe you if you told me you were a doctor.
But she's very gullible. I looked away, awkwardly holding a clean bandage against the gash in her leg. Towels I'd used to clean the wound were now a pile of blood-soaked, mud-stained rags on my dirty floor. Was I a kind person?
It's just basic first aid. Not a big deal. Here, hold this. Put pressure on it while I wrap it up.
I wrapped a length of gauze around her narrow leg to hold the bandage in place.
That should be okay overnight, but we should probably clean it again and rewrap it tomorrow.
Her leg didn't leave my lap. Instead, she wiggled her toes and shot me a small smile.
You're going to let me stay here?
Huh?
I looked up at her and instantly forgot how to speak, because suddenly I was struck by how pretty she was. I mean, the rain had really done a number on her, but still. She must have been around 20, give or take, not too much younger than me. She was thin, but everyone was thin these days. With her, it was like she had been built this way, small and delicate and weightless. Her dress was simple and a little threadbare. The rain had soaked through, and I realized I could sort of see her undergarments. I quickly averted my eyes, my cheeks warming. I hoped she hadn't noticed me looking, because I really hadn't meant to look. So now he's staring at her undergarments. AC says it's already a bloody rag. Gus, you had one job, bad Gus. Go to horny jail, right?
You said clean it again tomorrow, right?
Yeah, it looks like it needs cleaned again. I did say that. The room seemed to spin a little bit, and my face went from feeling very hot to feeling very cold. I think I should be taking my own temperature right now, I'm just saying. Stay away from each other. That was my rule. What was I supposed to do now? Maybe it's okay if she stays, or she really shouldn't be here. We can't kick her out in the rain like this, and like I already said, she's fucking pretty, right? Like, and I probably haven't had any in a long goddamn time. I'm in isolation, I'm in cabin. Already talked about how long I've been wearing the same clothes, how I haven't combed my hair in perhaps weeks. Yeah, I think that I'm going to take my chances with her having the, what did we see in that picture in the park? Vivid 22, it was called. Yeah, not COVID, but Vivid. Anyway, yeah, we're going to take our chances. If she has COVID, maybe I'm willing to get it, right? Look how pitiful she is, said my brain. My brain was right, and I didn't know what to do except to go along with it.
Well, it's not like I'm going to just send you back out into the rain.
Exactly. AC says stay, you might get some of that sweat, or sweet feet action. Worst that can happen is she murders you to death. Exactly. Yeah, I don't think I'd be too scared of her.
Not by yourself, anyway. Is there anyone else in your bubble? Anyone I can call to come get you, or...
She looked down into her lap.
No.
Oh. Her response made me too nervous to ask any further questions. I wasn't sure I could handle a tragic backstory at this particular moment anyhow. In any case, I knew that if my parents were still around, they'd never have sent this girl back out into the night. They'd have let her stay as well, at least until she got her bearings. I sighed, giving in.
Okay, well, you can sleep on my couch tonight. We'll figure the rest out tomorrow.
Right?
We should really stay at least 6 feet apart, though.
Right. Okay.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
She nodded and gently removed her leg from my lap. I moved back, making more space between us instead to examine the rip in my pant leg. Meanwhile, my brain tried to fathom what was happening. I brought a stranger into my house. I didn't even know who she was or where she'd come from. This seemed like a really bad idea. And also, had surreal.
Damn, I liked these pants.
Oh no, did you get hurt too?
No, it's just a rip.
Oh, that's not so bad.
I got up and made even more space between us. She stood up too, testing her weight on her injured leg.
Wow, it already feels so much better. You must have a magical healing touch.
I was starting to think she might be one of those weird, optimistic people. Also, it was hard to think straight with her standing up in that very damp, very revealing dress. Yeah, I can imagine. You can see her bra straps there. I can imagine how much it would actually show with a dress like that being all wet and everything. The question I have is, I've been through life myself. It's talking about how light she was and how skinny she was and everything like that. I can honestly say that these anime girls typically have like huge busts, and they're very thin. I don't really know that I've ever seen like a 97-pound woman with like huge like triple D breasts. I'm just saying. It's only in these games. I don't know. I mean, I guess it looks good for the art. Again, guys, with me and hentai games, not even hentai games, these visual novels, I guess, these anime, the one thing I really like, even more than this right here, a lot more, is I like the emotions that they show, the big eyes, the emotions they show in their face. A lot of these visual novels do a really good job of showing the emotion well. Like I said, I wish I could draw like that. I bet you they make some good money.
You need to take that dress off.
Whoa! Look at that. See, this is what I'm talking about. Look at the expression on her face. He's like, what? You need to take that dress off. Yeah, is he staring a little bit? Or am I... Yeah, AC's like, bruh. Yeah, what? What is going on? I just said to her, you need to take that dress off. Probably because it's wet and he doesn't want her to get sick. But yeah, that's going to come off a little bit. Forward?
That came out wrong. What I mean is, it's wet and cold, and I'm sure you'd feel better if you changed into something dry and warm.
Yeah?
I'm sure I have some extra clothes you can wear.
There you go. Hot in the face, basically I'm blushing. I ran off to procure a basket of old clothes for my storage closet. I hadn't worn them since my teenage years. They were far too small for me now, but might be a good fit for her. Good idea, good idea.
Here,
Save
take
the day
whatever
there.
you want. They're all clean.
I dropped the basket on the table and walked backwards away from it.
That's so nice of you. I'll get changed now.
There you go. I watched her take the basket and hobble out of the room to change where I couldn't see. Aw, shucks. When she came back, I was surprised to see that she had chosen a button-down that was part of my old high school uniform from back before everything went online. I'd been much younger and much smaller when I wore that shirt, but even still, it swam in her frame. It swam on her frame. It almost looked like a nightgown, which was probably why she'd chosen it. Yep. The art's very well done. I love the expression again. It's interesting. Wasn't her hair like blue before, and now it's kind of like a purple? Or was I hadn't noticed the color of her hair the last frame. Anyway.
I haven't felt this comfy since I don't know when. It's a school shirt, right? I always liked the look of school uniforms, but I never got to wear one. All my classes were online.
Yeah, and also, guys, there's no fucking button-up shirt that has that big of a fucking opening down to the first button. Yeah, you're not gonna see that much unless she has like a couple of buttons undone, which maybe she does. I don't know. I'm just saying. For some reason, that made me a little sad. I myself had so few memories of the world before the sickness. It was hard to imagine not having any at all.
How old are you?
She's 12. Oh my god.
21. My birthday was actually last week.
21, barely 21. He's legal.
Oh, well, happy belated birthday. Do you have a name?
Oh, of course I do. It's Mallory.
Nice to meet you, Mallory. Well, not nice exactly. Weird to meet you, I guess. I'm not used to people.
Yeah, I get it. I didn't mean to trespass onto your property. I really did get lost. And then the rain started, and I could hear these dogs or something howling. I was scared, and I ran towards the first light I saw.
Ah, okay. I nodded as if to say I understood. It was true that there were things like wolves and coyotes in the area. That was why I had set up an extra secure fence for my chickens.
But what were you doing out there in the first place?
I would rather not talk about that.
Damn. I stared at her, totally perplexed. Why this secrecy? Should I press her more? Try to insist on getting some answers, or let it go for now? She's already had a rough night. I see. I'm gonna let it go. I decided not to push it. It was all too much, and I really needed sleep. My toe was hurting where I'd stubbed it on the broom.
Don't worry about it. You're here now, so just take the opportunity to get some rest.
I skirted around her to grab some blankets. I maintained a wide berth as I dropped them on the couch. I offered her a glass of water, pointed out the bathroom, and asked if she needed anything else, all from afar.
This is perfect. Thank you so much for everything. Truly, I'm lucky to have met you.
Yeah, just try not to touch anything, okay?
I shuffled my feet awkwardly.
Okay, I'm going to bed. Bye.
I hope you have sweet dreams. I'll see you in the morning.
As I made my way up the stairs to my bedroom, I glanced back. Mallory was already curled up on the couch, looking quite cozy. Yeah? I couldn't remember the last time I'd had anyone in my home, even briefly. I'd been so careful for such a long time. I didn't know where she'd been, or if she'd been as careful as I'd been. But when my gaze fell on her bandaged leg, a prickle of guilt surged up.
Good night.
Well, at least he's looking at her leg, just saying. I finished climbing the stairs and I flopped down onto my bed. I was so exhausted, emotionally puzzled, and mentally drained. It didn't take long for me to fall deeply asleep. Exactly, I agree. AC says, cozy, curled up? No, it looks like she's preparing to do a shoot. Yeah, I agree. Chapter 3, Germination. Uh-oh. I woke, as usual, the happy sound of a rooster crowing in the garden. The sky was clear and the early morning sun was bright and cheery. You would think a morning like that would have put me in a great mood, but no. All night my dreams had revolved around strange bugs infesting the cabin, hordes of them squirming inside through every crack. I must have been tense all night, because my neck had a painful kink in it. I had definitely woken up on the proverbial wrong side of the bed. Yeah, I wonder if he's dreaming about that because he's fearing that he let in, the virus, or he let in infection or whatever. That's why he's dreaming about tons of bugs and insects creeping into his cabin. It would kind of make sense. I suppose I had forgotten about my house guest, or at least I hadn't remembered to think about her yet. I was busy making a list in my head of the work that I needed to get done today. But that's when the smoke alarm started shrieking. Uh-oh. I bolted upright in my bed. There was someone in my house, and I'd let her in. And yep, I could definitely smell something burning. Oh boy. I rushed to put on some real daytime clothes and barreled downstairs. Mallory stood in the kitchen, looking mortified. A little smoke hung in the air, but I didn't see any flames. Ooh. Grabbing a chair, I jumped up to silence the smoke alarm.
Thank you. I'm really so sorry. I tried wafting a dish towel at it, but the alarm just wouldn't stop. I didn't wake you, did I?
I wasn't really listening to her. I was too busy creating space between us and also looking for the source of the smoke. It was a pan with charred black mass sitting in it. I didn't know what she'd burned, but she had really burned it.
What is that?
Oh, I thought I'd make you breakfast as a thank you. My mom used to have the best recipe for potato pancakes that would always fuel me for the day. But these... well, I'm not totally sure what happened. I never used a stove like yours before, so this batch got a little... overdone. Maybe I can scrape off the burnt part.
Wow, she's making mashed potato pancakes. Mashed potato pancakes are the fucking bomb. I love those.
You know what? Forget I said that. It's all burnt part. I'll just clean up my mess and then I'll make you a new batch. And I will definitely be more careful this time.
Hang on, did you say potato pancakes?
They're the best. It's too bad this first batch didn't turn out because I spent all morning digging up the potatoes, washing them, peeling them. They were so tiny it took extra long. And I was worried you'd wake up before I could finish.
Uh-oh, I think she should be asking permission before she's digging up fucking plants that he has.
Luckily, I've got some other treats on the go as well, so you're not going to starve. Just let me turn on the toaster real quick.
Turned, reaching for the toaster handle, but the microwave was running, and the kettle was boiling,
Wait,
and...
stop!
Too late. She'd overloaded the solar panel's inverter. And just like that, the kettle, the microwave, the toaster, and the kitchen lights all shut off. Oh boy.
Why did you do that?
Yeah, I'm mad now. Mallory, having plated the overdone pancakes, for some reason, dropped the plate in alarm. Oh no, it smashed, flinging shards of itself across the floor. The blackened pancakes bounced like rocks. What a fucking mess. Had potato rocks.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to make you some breakfast. I didn't mean to cause so much trouble. I'll clean this up.
I sighed in frustration. All I wanted was to make coffee and sit down on my computer like every other morning. I couldn't do that now because I had to get the power sorted and check to make sure she hadn't completely destroyed my precious garden.
Are you angry with me?
Yeah. How was I supposed to answer that? Yes, this is outrageous and unfair. No, I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna be nice. She's pretty, right? I was definitely upset. I definitely didn't like the situation, but it wasn't like she had intentionally ruined my potatoes. She'd only been so audacious as to dig them up without permission. I already mentioned that. She should be asking permission before she goes digging up my plants. Long before they were ready. Even after I'd specifically told her not to touch anything. That's true, I did tell her not to touch anything the night before. I looked away.
I'm just not a breakfast person.
I'm really sorry. I just wanted to do something nice as a thank you for letting me stay here. I promise, I'll fix everything and then I'll just get ready to leave.
Sure, whatever.
I turned away and went to haul on my work gloves and my boots.
I'll be out in the yard for a while.
I went out, and as I pulled the back door shut behind me, I heard a soft sound from the kitchen. Like a heavy sigh or a stifled sob. Wait, was she crying?
What did I get myself into?
Right?
For real, I can't believe...
I continued muttering grumpily to myself as I strode out into my garden. And then I took a deep breath of fresh, cold air. Look at the art, very pretty. It had an autumn bite to it, but the sun was warm. It felt instantly calmer.
Oh well, she'll be gone soon anyway.
I took my time that morning, dealing with a power issue and making the usual rounds. Happy hands? Check. Busy beehive? Check. I did a rough count of the firewood in my shed, and then my way back around to the front of the cabin. I stopped when I saw the bloody animal trap where Mallory had gotten hurt the night before.
Damn, that had to have been painful.
Yeah, no shit. I felt pretty bad. Traps were only supposed to be awards, something to keep my bubble a little safer from the dangerous wildlife. I'd never meant for anybody to get hurt. I looked at the trap, wondering if I should rethink my setup. Move the trap or leave it where it is? I'm gonna move it. I decided to move the trap and set it up further away from the house, closer to the woods.
Maybe next time I'll catch something less likely to ruin my day.
Wow.
Okay, that was a bit harsh.
Yeah.
She didn't mean to ruin my day.
AC says, but seriously, you brought a strange girl home and expect her to know everything about how your infrastructure works? True. True.
A rabbit would be good, though.
I ignored the sudden craving for rabbit stew, and having finished with the trap, wandered down into the garden. Yeah, I'm sure he's worked up an appetite by now. Right away, I could see where Mallory had dug up breakfast. I surveyed the overturned earth with a heavy heart, noticing a handful of small potatoes uprooted and just abandoned. Oh boy. Well, I could always plant something new here. It was the right time of year for garlic. The sun had already climbed high into the sky. I was feeling almost warm enough to peel off my sweater. I figured I should probably go inside, maybe eat something, check in on poor Mallory, and get ready to work on my computer. Right away, as I went inside, I kicked off my boots. Something didn't feel right. It took me a moment to realize. You'd been cleaning? What? The mess was gone. There were no brooms on the floor, no garbage bags waiting to go out, no scattered crumbs or dust bunny cities. Everything looked so clean. It literally sparkled, but how and why? Had Mallory done all of this just to make up for that little breakfast fiasco? Hey, there we go.
Whoa, this is really nice. Like, really, really nice.
Yeah? Looks nice. As I looked around at all she had done, I started to feel like a bit of an ass. I figured I should go apologize. But where was she? She hadn't already left, had she? And then I heard something coming from the bathroom. The sound of splashing water. A small voice humming a happy tune. My heart sank. Oh boy.
She couldn't. She wouldn't.
Without thinking, I threw open the bathroom door. Oh no, he's gonna see her nude. This is probably where that nude patch comes in. I'm just saying. Yep. I guarantee you if you get that nude patch, she's gonna be naked right there. Yep. I mean, she's in the bathtub, right? He freaks out. We stared at each other, both of us shocked by my intrusion. And then my brain kicked back into gear and I tore my gaze away from her. But it was too late now. I had seen everything, including the tub full of water. Yep. So this is, you can imagine yourself, guys. This is meant to be like he walks in on her taking a bath and she's completely nude.
What are you doing?
I was just taking a bath.
I pointed in the direction of the bathtub, keeping my eyes fixed on the doorframe. Exactly, that's why, because she's completely nude. He's trying not to stare at her.
That's my water supply!
It's still warm if you want to use it.
Oh my god. What? Did she not get it?
That's my water supply! My fresh water! My drinking water! My everything water!
Oh boy.
What were you thinking? Why did you use so much?
Again, look at the expression. Love it, love it. Love the art there. Panic was really setting in now. What if she had turned the cistern dry? Or what if she'd run the cistern dry? I'd have almost nothing until the next rainfall. And then, who knew how long that would be?
Oh my gosh, I had no idea. I had no idea. I'm so sorry. I really didn't know.
I'd never run out of water before, but that was because I'd always known to be careful. This thought this could be the very day I had so deeply feared would come.
How do you survive this way?
Huh. Wow. AC says, yeah, I'll just bet it's still warm, baby. Exactly.
It's like you're constantly wasting things! Is this why you were out in the rain last night?
Oh,
Did
wow.
your bubble decide to kick you out because you don't know how to think before you act?
Damn. He's letting her have it. I mean, I can't blame him. Her mouth popped open. I immediately felt bad for shouting at her. Damn, I really was in a bad mood today.
Just finish up in here. And don't drain that water, okay? I'll repurpose it for laundry or something.
I didn't want to acknowledge my own anger, or the tears that had sprung into her eyes when I had said what I'd screamed at her. In any case, I needed to check the rain barrels. Like, right that second. I turned my back on her and walked out. For the rest of the afternoon, I sat at my computer waiting for Mallory to leave. I just couldn't stop thinking about her. And by that, I mean I couldn't stop thinking about how naive, careless, and wasteful she was. Nothing to do with her shimmery eyes, or how sweet she seemed to be, even when everything else was horrible. Nope. The good news was I checked the rain barrels, and the situation wasn't as dire as I had feared. As long as it rained again sometime in the next few weeks, we'd be okay. Notice he said we'd be okay. Still, I sat at my computer for a long time, entirely unable to focus on my work. When Mallory finally reappeared, she was holding the cardboard box of my old clothes. For some reason, she was still only wearing a bath towel. That made me feel all sorts of uncomfortable, and I tried extra hard to keep my eyes on my computer screen. I pretended to type. I noticed the box had more clothing in it than before. I even saw some of my favorite peeking out. Ask her what she's up to? Haven't you had enough confrontation for one day? Ask her what she's up to. I cleared my throat loudly, and Mallory just looked at me.
What are you doing with those clothes?
Oh, I was just going to go through them and sort out what's good to wear. I hope that's okay.
Huh? That didn't sound too worrisome. Maybe she was finally getting ready to go.
Right. You're welcome to take anything that doesn't fit me anymore. I'm sure you could use some warmer things to wear out there on your travels.
I turned quickly back to my computer, hoping I hadn't hurt her feelings with my not so subtle reminder that I didn't want her here. Why do you care about her feelings? Asked my brain. You already told her that she's not welcome here. She'll be gone soon either way. I hyper-focused on my screen, and in another couple of hours, I still had nothing done. Suddenly it was dark outside, and I was starving. And Mallory still hadn't left. In fact, she was in the kitchen, and there were nice, savory smells wafting my way. I logged off and shut down my computer quickly but casually, making my way over to her. I found her tending to 3 separate pots on the stove, all of them simmering and steaming pleasantly. How dare she? Nothing was burning this time either, which made me feel annoying feelings like impressed and kind of excited to eat that. Mallory noticed me standing there and smiled way too brightly.
Oh, good, you're finished working. That's perfect because supper is ready.
Yeah, I feel like she's just kind of making herself at home a little bit too much, especially with as angry as I got at her for everything. Yeah, I think a normal person would be like, alright, I'm out of here, sorry. She started dishing out the oddly fancy-looking meal onto 2 large plates. Yeah, why is she still naked after asking for clothes? Right?
What is all this?
It's all made from freeze-dried proteins and grains I found in the pantry, and some spices, which by the way make all the difference when it comes to flavoring a dish. Oh, and I only used things that were already open, so I hope I didn't overstep again. I can tell you work really hard, and I know I made a mess of things, and I just really wanted to make it up to you. I'm determined to have a net positive impact here.
You thought I'd been nice? I was suddenly very concerned about how low the bar was for her, right? I also couldn't help feeling a little charmed by her determination. I wanted to let her know that I did actually appreciate her effort.
Well, this does look incredible. And by the smell of it, I'm pretty sure I'll be licking these plates clean. You did wash your hands before you started, right?
Yes, silly. And I still don't have any symptoms of any sicknesses either. So come on, let's eat. I want you to enjoy it while it's hot.
There was something so endearing in the simplicity of her delight. I smiled as I took my plate and sat down at the far end of the table, away from her. We ate in silence. The food really was delicious. I wouldn't have guessed she had had a dinner, not based on the morning. Exactly. I wonder if I should try to get some answers out of her now. I thought, and I cleared my throat.
How's your leg feeling?
It's not too bad.
I should probably take a look at it after supper. Clean it up and put a fresh bandage on it. And then, I suppose we should talk about getting you home?
Right. Home.
Again, look at her expression. She's like, fuck.
I mean, I don't know if you have a family or a group or whatever, or if you're on your own like me, but you don't exactly look like you, live in the forest. So where are you headed?
Huh? He lifted one shoulder, visibly uncertain. Again, look at the art in the face. You can tell, very well done.
Surely there must be someone, somewhere.
I'll figure something out.
Aww.
Hang on, no. I want to make sure you're going to be okay.
I thought you just wanted me to leave.
Ideally, I'd like to know at least something about your situation. Maybe I could help you.
He looked away.
That's sweet of you, but I'm sorry. I'm just not ready to talk about it.
Okay.
It felt quiet once more, the awkward scrape of forks on plates to fill the silence. I considered her as she sat across from me, so beautiful. It was as if she were a digital painting.
Can I just ask one more question? Why are you still wearing that towel?
He looked at me blankly. The last few morsels of food balanced on her fork, fell back on her plate. She glanced down at herself, then up again, hands clapping against the sides of her face.
What? You mean I've been wearing this the whole time? Oh, I can't believe it. How do I forget these things? I was so embarrassed. Oh my gosh.
Oh my god. Finally, she says. I couldn't help laughing. Yeah, it made me laugh when she said it. I felt like I was finally catching on. She was a bit of a space case. Yep, a bit of a space case. That was all, and her mannerisms made it sort of adorable. Again, look at that art. Look at that art.
I'll be back to clean up as soon as I'm decent.
Oh my god, she's like a total blonde, right? The total blonde in the blonde jokes, anyway. Her efforts to flee quickly were hampered by her leg. She ended up limping away in search of her clothes, mumbling exasperatedly under her breath. And that's when it hit me. I hadn't even considered how much pain she must have been in as she cooked and cleaned and tried so hard to pay me back. Pay me back for what, though? I'd only wanted to help, and I hadn't even done a great job of it. And now, I was trying to send her away, knowing full well that she had nowhere to go. No, I couldn't do that. And now, I felt like I had to make things up to her. I tidied up quickly from supper and returned to my computer where I booted up my 3D printer. I didn't use that thing often, but it was there for emergencies, and this seemed urgent enough. I managed to find a design that was close to what I had imagined, and I set everything up and stood back to watch the printer do its thing. Just then, Mallory emerged wearing her dress.
Oh, you already cleaned up. I guess that's it then.
She stood beside the table, leaning on it for support. I stood in front of the printer while it worked. I didn't know what to say, so I decided to just let the words come out of my mouth.
You should stay. Also, I'm sorry. I've been a total asshat to you.
She looked up at me, nervously clutching the sides of her dress in her teeny hands. Her mouth opened and closed like she didn't know what to say either. So I just kept on going.
It was kind of a shock to have you show up here. I haven't had anyone visit, ever. Because this has always been my space, my family space. I guess I felt sort of invaded. But now I realize that's stupid. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, I wouldn't feel right making you leave when you're clearly in a bad spot. I have the means to help you, and there's no reason why I shouldn't. If you want to leave, that's fine, but there's no rush. Cool?
Smiled softly, her eyes seeming to glitter.
Cool.
Behind me, the 3D printer finished its work. I turned around to take the sheet of gauze with the cute potato pattern I'd printed, hoping it would amuse her and lighten the mood.
Can I redress your leg now?
The pattern on the gauze made her giggle, and she nodded and sat down, propping her leg up. I prepared once again for the uncomfortable closeness that wasn't necessary for this task. I scrubbed my hands, put on a mask and a pair of gloves, and went to sit by her with the first aid kit. We chatted idly as I cleaned and packed her wound. Afterwards, I got her set up on the couch and bid her goodnight. I wasn't exactly tired, but I figured it was better to leave things on a pleasant note before things got awkward again. Yeah? I climbed up the stairs to my loft and laid in my bed, staring at the ceiling above me. I thought about how angry I'd been with her actions that morning. I thought about how scared and uncomfortable I'd felt throughout the day. How was it that now, a matter of hours later, I could feel such a gentle fondness for the very same person who had made me so upset? Moody hermit, I accused myself. Yeah, you're probably right, I thought to it in reply. And with that, I closed my eyes and waited for sleep to come. Alright, guys. Pretty charming little visual novel so far. I gotta say, I'm kind of liking it here. It's pretty fucking cheesy. I can't deny that, but I do like the art. I do like it. It's interesting. What's going to happen with them? Is it going to be a heartbreaking end? Is it going to be, is his fears going to come forth, and we're going to find out that she is some kind of a psycho murderer that, plotted this all out to take over his cabin and kill him, or who knows, right? We never know what's going to happen in this visual novel. What is the story premise? I missed the start of the game. What sickness? I think it's kind of like a COVID. Yeah, it kind of started off like it's a COVID, like an extreme worst case scenario of COVID. I'm guessing the developer or developers probably started working on this, a year and a half ago when COVID was really mysterious. Like we didn't really know what was going to happen. And I think, there was a lot more mystery in COVID. So I think he kind of took that and took an extreme case of COVID where it's already killed like millions and millions of people. And everybody was kind of living and fending for themselves. Kind of like the Walking Dead TV show or something like that, where maybe not zombies, but, a lot of people have died and everybody's kind of fending for themselves, and there's probably not as much law. Stuff like that. That's kind of what I gathered from it. So this is I'm kind of assuming this is kind of like a plausible or hypothetical COVID was extreme scenario. Anyway, so he's going to sleep. Let's go ahead and save, guys. We're at the end of chapter 3. Let's go ahead and play one more chapter and see if it gets more interesting or whatever. And I don't want to have this a visual novel or this first part go too long. I don't want a lot of reading. But thankfully, the game is doing a lot of the reading for me. So we're going to go ahead and continue, probably do one more chapter. Chapter 4, Growth. Right? I stopped sounding that night and woke up feeling surprisingly good. The sun was shining and my body and mind were refreshed, and once again, something smelled delicious in the kitchen kind of way. Hey, I could get used to this, thought my brain. I rolled my eyes at myself and I hopped out of bed. This was the start of a new routine. It had to be. Mallory was here now, and I didn't want either one of us taking advantage of the other. I wondered if she'd like to learn about the systems I had set up for off-grid living. I definitely needed her to understand why certain things were important, like conserving water, obviously, but she might actually enjoy being involved with the work I do on the daily. Maybe she could share the load. She could be the Sam to my Frodo. My heart felt kind of bright and big at the thought of having a friend, even if for just a while. It was something to break up the mind-numbing monotony of that sweet post-apocalypse lifestyle I've been living. Yeah, I can imagine it would get really fucking lonely living alone in a cabin, for years, basically. I could be an okay teacher. I taught a few online courses before for beginners wanting to learn C#. Teaching someone how to feed a chicken shouldn't be any harder than that. I treaded softly down the stairs and snuck into my kitchen. Some egg medley bubbled away in a skillet, and a pot of rice was boiling over. Mallory stood with her back to me, struggling to reach something high in the cupboard.
Your pot is boiling.
Oh, you surprised me. Good morning. How did you sleep?
She moved back to the stove to transfer the rice off the heat. Then she picked up the skillet and gave the eggs a good toss.
I slept okay. How about you?
Smiled, wiping her hands on her apron. It was my mother's apron, actually, and I was pleasantly surprised to see it. It had been tucked away in the bottom drawer and forgotten about for a long time.
Great. Your couch is super comfy, and that blanket is so cozy and warm.
Good. I'm glad.
My gaze drifted to the open cupboard behind Mallory.
Did you need something from up there?
He looked back at the cupboard and let out a nervous giggle.
Yes, please. I was looking for aspirin and I thought I saw a bottle up there, but I couldn't really reach. I didn't want to risk standing up on a chair or something with my leg.
Is it getting more painful? I did notice a little redness yesterday, but I didn't think it was infected. Unless... Wait, you're not feeling sick, are you?
No, it's just the leg. It's a bit achy.
Uh-oh. I motioned for her to switch places with me, keeping some distance between us while I reached up and grabbed the aspirin bottle out of the cupboard. It was still half full, yet I'd hesitated for a moment, reluctant to share my supply. But then I could always order more, along with a first aid kit that I needed to replace now. I set the bottle on the counter and stepped away so Mallory could take it. She smiled so brightly that dimples appeared in her cheeks. Again, her face definitely looks happy. I can't get over how big they make eyes on anime characters.
Thank you so much. You're the best.
I pressed my lips together, trying not to smile. We were still standing close to one another. I took a few steps back, clearing my throat.
Maybe it's time for another temperature check, just to be sure.
I went to grab the scanner and came back.
Could you, move your hair?
Could you move your hair? She looked at her bangs off her forehead so I could get a clear reading with the temperature scanner. After a few moments, the happy sound of one beep let me know that she was fever-free.
Okay, you're good. But we should keep distancing until enough time has passed to know for sure.
Mallory nodded, and she untied her apron. Then she did a little twirl on her good leg and offered me a plate.
How's this for a second attempt at breakfast?
The food looked glorious. I knew the eggs were fresh because I'd collected them myself just a few days prior. Still, what she had done with them was beyond impressive. Hell, that even looks good for a picture. Rough chopped vegetables and herbs gave splashes of color to the omelet, which was stuffed with steaming hot rice speckled with even more seasoning. The whole thing had a downright heavenly aroma. Suddenly, some good old Shakespeare came to my brain. Did my heart love till now? Forswear it, sight, for I ne'er saw true beauty till this breakfast. I thought to myself, you're a fucking nerd.
Well, you seem to have learned how to use the stove properly.
She blushed. Oh no, I hoped I hadn't embarrassed her. I'd meant it as a joke, a compliment kind of thing. You've been alone too long, I said to my brain.
Really, this is amazing, and I don't deserve it.
We enjoyed our breakfast at the dining room table, sitting across from each other as we had the previous night. Through the great big windows at Mallory's back, the yard looked bright and inviting.
Looks like we'll have great weather today. I was thinking of doing some work in the garden for a while. A place like this needs a lot of maintenance. 10 acres of green space, all the off-grid systems. It's a constant running to-do list to keep everything going.
It seems pretty amazing. Is it hard to take care of it all by yourself?
It can be hard work, but it's worth it.
Well, what can I do to help?
Awesome, I like it. I looked at her, a little surprised. Ask her to join you in the garden? She should relax and take care of her feet. What do you guys think? What do you think, AC? Anybody? Join? Okay. We'll ask her to join us in the garden.
I suppose you could join me if you'd like. Some fresh air might help you feel rejuvenated, speed up your healing. I could show you a little bit about my setup, too. Introduce you to the hens.
She startled as though I had woken her from a daydream. Her eyes, bright and beautiful, locked on to mine. Uh-oh. Wow, was all I could think, looking into her eyes.
You have hens? Like little chickens that actually run around going cluck cluck? For real?
I laughed. It hadn't occurred to me that she might not have ever seen one before. But if she came from the city, which I sort of assumed she did, then it did make sense. Her childlike excitement over something so normal to me warmed my heart against its own will.
Yeah, I have fish too. You want to meet them?
Again, look at the expression in her face. I love it. She raised excited fists, particularly bouncing in her seat.
Yes, I do. I really do.
Okay, let's head outside then.
She jumped up, the very definition of bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Her enthusiasm was infectious. It made me feel more lively as well. I thought about insisting we both make up as if we're going to be spending the day in close proximity. But I thought about it some more, and since we'd be outside with lots of space all around, and since neither of us had any symptoms, I imagined it would be fine. As we headed outside, I offered Mallory a jacket. She declined. I was skeptical that she'd been warm enough in her threadbare dress, but it was her call. At least the sun was warm today, and there wasn't much wind. I let Mallory lead the way through the garden. She would stop to examine all the different growing things, all the fruits and vegetables. More than enough for one person. I often had an overabundance of produce, so I would end up canning a lot of it. Except for those potatoes. Rip.
Oh
Yeah?
my gosh! Are these strawberries?
She stood there in the strawberry patch, a look of total wonderment on her face.
They look so plump and juicy, and they're so red. How did you grow them?
They're actually the easiest thing to maintain around here. They grow like weeds. Pretty much every year I get 3 whole harvests.
Really?
How does
What do you do with all of them?
I make my own jams, put them in salads, make smoothies, things like that. I dehydrate some for easy snacking too.
AC says then immediately fall. She immediately falls because her leg is still fucked. Yeah, that'd be bad.
But I think they're best right off the bush. You're welcome to have some.
Her eyes widened. They were huge. And they were actually twinkling now. How did she do that?
I've never eaten a strawberry before. Are you sure?
She's never eaten a strawberry before? The fuck?
Never? Jeez. Yeah, help yourself. Just put your index finger and thumb right behind the stem and pinch it off.
I watched her reach out in search of a perfect strawberry to pluck. Again, love that expression.
Watch out for slugs.
She'd paused, stuck her tongue out at me in jest, and then selected her perfect for a strawberry. Like the playfulness there.
Oh, wow. These taste just like sunshine. I could eat these every day.
Feast away.
I couldn't help but want to offer her everything just then. The happiness radiating off her was like addictive or something.
Oh, look. This one's shaped like a heart. Ooh, this one here is huge. Look how shiny and red it is. It's like something out of a picture book. Oh, there's a little bug munching on that one. Enjoy your meal, little bug.
I smiled to myself. While Mallory chattered away eating strawberries by the handful, I picked up my rake and started taking care of the fallen leaves that were encroaching on the garden. Mallory noticed and came over.
Can I do that?
Her smile was brighter than the sky above us.
Oh, no, that's okay. You need to go easy on your leg.
Yeah,
My
right.
leg feels fine. Please?
Just looked so earnest. Reluctantly, I passed her the rake. While Mallory took care of the raking, I made my way to the other side of the garden and worked at pulling up weeds. Pretty soon I had a bucket almost full. When I looked around for Mallory, I saw her standing beside the leaf pile in progress, pausing to catch her breath. I felt bad for letting her take on the raking. She'd probably end up feeling pretty sore afterwards. Still, it was nice to have the help. I could already tell that the chores would go way quicker this way. I watched her until she'd finished the little break and gone back to raking, or rather until she spotted me looking at her and gave me a big thumbs up, which I pretended I hadn't seen.
Do-do-do, pulling up weeds.
I shook my head at myself, tossing another fistful of leafy stalks into the bucket. Something about this girl stirred up my insides. She was like a cartoon princess. Too happy and too determined. Almost too good to be real. I, for one, definitely wouldn't have been tough enough to pick up a rake with a leg injury like she had. If anything, I'd been sitting on my couch playing video games until it healed. So I guess I felt a feeling that was partway between admiration and total bewilderment. Because there Mallory was, her pale skin glistening as she did yard work for me, her dress swaying and dancing around her thighs as she moved. Wait, am I still looking at her? I thought, and I went back to weeding. I had to put an end to my distraction. It looked like Mallory was just about finished anyway, so I carried my bucket over to her.
Looking good. Good work, I mean.
Looking good. I mean work. You're doing good work, right?
Let's move all this stuff into the compost bin.
Okay. What's that?
I showed her the bin, and as we filled it up with weeds and old leaves, I gave her the rundown.
Basically, I put all the dead plant matter and vegetable waste I have into the tumbler.
Right?
Since it's a sealed container, it traps lots of heat inside and helps the stuff break down. See the handle on the side? I use that to turn the tumbler so everything gets mixed together. Then, once it's all broken down, I mix it in with the garden soil. The compost gives the soil extra nutrients, which helps the plants grow. It's kind of like the circle of life. I save all the peels and ends from the produce I eat, turn them into compost, and use that to grow more stuff. So the garden really provides its own nutrients for the next crop of plants that grow there.
Wow, that's amazing.
Honestly, everyone should be doing this. It's a big part of reducing waste.
It's like a big, friendly leaf monster. Num num num.
She fed the last of the garden waste into the mouth of the bin, and then patted the top of it as though praising it like a good dog. That's funny. I like the laughing and stuff. I like the voice acting in this game. Pretty well done. For a few moments, we stood together admiring the garden. It looked so clean and healthy now. Then, with a twinge of anxiety, I noticed how close we were to one another. How closely we'd been working. But it was probably fine. She seemed like she was healthy. More than healthy. She was handling her injury remarkably well. Was that the so-called power of positive thinking at work? Uh-oh, and then ironically she starts to cough. Never mind, I lurched backwards, looking at her in horror.
Are you feeling sick?
No, sorry. It's just my throat is dry. I'm really thirsty.
Ah. Oh, right. We'd been working for a while, and now that she mentioned it, I felt pretty parched as well. Whew.
I'll go get us some water.
I dipped inside, took a few deep breaths, and went to fill up a couple of stainless steel water bottles. Everything was fine. Her temperature had been normal from the get-go. She had no fatigue, no symptoms of the virus at all, apart from that one little cough, which was justified. Still, it was a reminder that I shouldn't be letting my guard down. When I returned outside, I found Mallory staring up at my roof with one hand raised to shade her eyes from the intense sunlight.
What are those? They look like shields for your house.
Oh, the solar panels? I looked up at the roof where she was pointing.
Oh, sort of. They're solar panels.
Yeah.
And they look like they could use a sweep, actually.
Yeah.
Why? What are they for?
They absorb energy from the sun and turn it into power for the cabin.
What? Really?
Here. Face toward the sun and spread your arms out.
She hesitated, then raised her arms up. She closed her eyes and tilted her head so the sun lit up her pale face.
Feel the warmth? That's energy from the sun, or as I like to call it, the nuclear furnace that sits in the sky, 150 million kilometers away from us.
Oh my god.
The solar panels take that energy and convert it into electricity. That current makes its way down to a charge controller, which turns the current into voltage for the batteries. My computer, appliances, and lights are all modified to run off that DC voltage. Oh, and the charge controller is hooked up to a battery that can store all that incoming energy. So we can still run the power for a while, even when the sun has gone away.
I hoped my explanation made sense. For someone who had never seen solar panels before, the concept might be a hard one to grasp.
So you capture the sunshine and turn it into energy? Isn't that like what flowers do?
Yeah?
Yeah, that's one way of thinking about it.
The twinkle in her eyes had returned. She continued to gaze up at the panels in awe.
It's like magic. If
Huh.
we'd had something like this where I grew up, then the citywide power outages wouldn't have mattered so much.
Good point. Her smile faded a little. Suddenly, the conversation felt heavy. I wanted to ask her to tell me more, but I was afraid to.
Give me a few minutes to sweep the leaves off the roof. Then we can go say hi to the hens.
Ooh, okay.
They're over there, just FYI, in case I happen to fall to my death or something.
What?
Don't worry. If that happens, you can just bury me in the garden. My corpse will give lots of nutrients to the soil.
Oh my god. She gasped, clearly horrified, and I couldn't help keep a straight face anymore. I laughed. Yeah, I heard it. It was pretty good.
Don't kid around like that. It's not funny.
Aww.
Sorry. I'll be back in a few. You rest.
I grabbed my ladder and broom from the shed and headed up onto the roof. I swept all the leaves from the solar panels and cleaned out the eavesdrops for good measure. I paused to gaze down at Mallory from the garden. She looked so at peace among all the plants. Butterflies had gathered nearby on a patch of wildflowers, and she was smiling at them. I didn't think I'd ever seen a sweeter scene. I looked across the distant hills toward what remained of the city. Yeah, that was where Mallory had come from. I'd assumed so, but now that she'd confirmed it with her comment about the power outages and the thought of living there almost hurt me. Even from my rooftop, I could see how everything had fallen into disrepair. I remembered the long ago announcement that public buildings would be closing down indefinitely. Sports stadiums, movie theaters, malls, and offices had all been shuttered. Even apartment complexes and private homes had to change. People were moved and shuffled around as fences went up and shared spaces became inaccessible. Anything to keep people apart from each other, or at least in their own small safety bubbles. I hadn't set foot in the city in years, and looking at it now, I had no desire to ever set foot there again. With a sad sigh, I turned my back to the ghost city and climbed down from my roof. I met Mallory in the garden and forced a smile.
Ready?
She seemed so excited as we made our way over to the chicken coop. For a moment, I'd even thought I saw a spring in her step, and then I realized it was just her limp. Was the aspirin she'd taken off wearing off already? The chickens clucked with extra enthusiasm when they saw that I had company, and when I opened the door to their fenced-in area, some of them flapped their wings furiously, sending feathers flying and making Mallory laugh.
For as long as they've been alive, I've been alone. So they're either happy for me or scared of you. Not sure.
That's funny. I pulled the gate shut behind us, and Mallory was already saying hello to each individual chicken, giving them compliments and asking them how they were enjoying their morning. And then she saw the chicks and she gasped.
Babies!
Did I not mention that? Yeah, they hatched a few days ago. You can pick them up if you want.
She looked up at me, her eyes doing that shimmery, sparkly thing all over again. I saw that there were tears there, and I thought or hoped they were tears of joy.
They're so cute! Are you sure I can touch them? It
I think
looks
they're-
like they'll break, they're so tiny.
I think they're happy tears. Funny, that was exactly how I felt about her.
They'll
Wow.
be okay. Just gently scoop them up into your hands.
Okay.
She carefully held out her hand. Some of the chicks came closer, investigating her, and it didn't take long before a couple of them volunteered to step into her palms. Again, facial expression. Love that art, man. Love the fucking art in this thing. Mallory let out a small squeak and lifted the chicks up to her face. The chicks reciprocated with their own happy peeping noises, dancing in her hands as she stroked their little golden down with a single fingertip. That's adorable.
They're so soft. I love them.
I believed her. It was weird. I couldn't fathom loving something so easily or so quickly. But Mallory did. And I had a hunch she would take a bullet for these little baby chicks.
Oh, sorry about the smell, by the way. I'm used to it, so I guess I forget that coops can get pretty smelly.
I don't find it bad at all.
She continued to pet and play with the little chicks. The whole scene was just too precious.
Do you want to feed them? There's a bag of grain just behind you.
She looked over her shoulder, smiling, and gently set down the chicks so she could reach for the bag. Took out a small handful of grain and scattered it in front of her. The chicks started to eat, and soon the adult hens came over to join them. All the chicks loved Mallory. They nibbled at her dress and danced around her as she fed them. The clucking intensified with every handful of grain, becoming so loud that Mallory started to laugh.
They're so happy.
I nodded.
I try to give them a good life, even if it's only a short one.
Love the smile. Love the art.
Huh? What do you mean?
Oh no. Why did I say that? What should I say next? Okay, so to repeat what he said, they're so happy. I nodded. I try to give them a good life, even if it's a short one. So with that, she's like, oh, what do you mean? Change the subject. We're gonna be honest with her. Feels like we might be having a friendship or a relationship develop, so I feel like honesty is probably the best policy. I don't know.
Well, some of these chicks will grow up into egg layers, so that we can eat things like that amazing omelet you made this morning.
Oh wow, again, look at her. She's like, what?
And others will be butchered for meat.
Oh no, I'm breaking her heart right now. She stared at me, and then she looked away. And those were definitely not tears of joy in her eyes now. Not anymore. She petted another baby chick, but this time her hand was trembling. Oh, maybe I should have avoided the truth. Or changed the subject, or whatever the other choice was. I felt pretty bad in the moment.
You take care of them from the time they're little babies like this, and then you kill them?
Aww. Yep, like I said, I broke her heart.
It's not like I want to. It's just how it goes. I need to eat, and I can't exactly go pick up meat from the grocery store.
I didn't feel like this was something that needed to be explained, let alone justified. This was how people survived. It wasn't pleasant or ideal, but just like staying away from each other to stop the spread of a deadly virus, it was necessary. How did she not get that? Why wasn't she saying anything?
Mallory?
I understand. I guess I just never thought about it before. It makes me a little sad.
Yeah?
I'll be okay though. Thank you for bringing me to meet them.
She stood up, gave the chickens a little wave goodbye, and then left the coop. I followed her out, shutting the gate behind us.
Shall we head back inside?
She nodded as we strolled across the grass. I felt a little awkward when we went back into the cabin. There was an unhappy tension now. But I didn't know if it was just me feeling guilty or if it was something more. I tried to inject a little perkiness into my voice.
So, there was one more thing I really wanted to show you today. It's the most intricate and nerdy of all my systems, and by far my favorite.
Tilted her head questioningly.
Remember when I said I have fish? Well, it's a bit more complicated than that. The fish are actually part of a system I use to grow plants and food indoors. That way I can have at least some fresh things to eat in winter.
Oh?
It's called aquaponics, and it's really freaking cool. Come on, I'll show you.
She smiled softly, like she was charmed by the idea. That was a relief.
Okay.
I led Mallory through the cabin to my aquaponics room. It was sort of tucked away, and since I had always kept the door closed, it was easy to miss. I found myself oddly excited to show her this. I felt almost proud as I opened the door, revealing the dim room on the other side.
Why is it so dark in here?
I know, the purple light is kind of strange. It's because those are grow lights. Their wavelength mimics the sun and gives the plants the specific red and blue light they need. It's a way of tricking them into thinking they're outdoors. Not that plants can think.
She smiled like she thought I was maybe a little bit funny, which lifted my spirits even higher. I followed her all the way into the room. It wasn't something I had acknowledged often, but this was my favorite place. Caring for the plants and the fish, watching them grow and change and live, gave me a feeling of connection I didn't quite get from the outdoor garden or from the hens. I didn't even feel a connection like that with other humans. No matter how many forums I joined or chats I took part in or emails I sent or received.
This is amazing.
Told ya.
I know, but I wasn't expecting so many plants. You have so much food.
I felt a twinge of guilt for how upset I'd been over the potatoes that she'd burned. She walked down the rows of potted vegetables and fish tanks, murmuring hello to the fish, examining the water feeding system and the grow lights. I imagined it all through her eyes, the eyes of someone seeing something like this for the first time. It must have seemed like a mad scientist's lair, or something. She paused, peering more closely at one of the fish tanks.
Why are there plants growing out of the tank water?
Technically, they're not. They have their own water. It's just been cycled through the fish tank as well. That's how they get nutrients.
I pointed out the tubes that cycled the water.
It's like the circle of life, kind of. I feed the fish and they produce waste, which contains ammonium. That gets converted to nitrites and then into nitrates, which the plants can use to grow. These tubes carry the tank water up through a filter. The filter traps all the bits of waste and gunk that won't help the plants and lets the now nutrient-rich water run through and into the plant pots. It's all a careful balance, everything working in harmony. If I feed the fish and keep the filters clean, then they're able to take care of my plants for me.
Mallory watched the fish swimming lazily back and forth, her face filled with wonder. I grabbed the container of fish food and held it out.
Here, feed them. Just take a bit and sprinkle it in.
I smiled at her encouragingly.
Okay.
Took a pinch of fish food and out of the container and gently sprinkled some flakes into the tank. The fish swam excitedly toward the flakes, opening and closing their mouths. Mallory smiled and gave them some more.
They're really hungry. Looking at them feels peaceful.
Yeah.
I watched her watching the fish, and I imagined showing her how to set up a system like this from scratch. I imagined us doing it together, planting the seeds of her favorite flower or special fruit she'd never tried, celebrating the first bud, the first harvest. Yeah, they say that, like, watching an aquarium, like owning an aquarium, and just like watching fish can be one of the most, like, de-stressors you can do. Like, you know, like, I think I've read articles about how, like, having an aquarium, people that have an aquarium tend to live longer, just because watching the fish can relieve so much stress and everything. Pretty amazing. Mallory startled me by asking something very suddenly.
Who taught you all of this?
She was too close. I took a step back and bumped into some shelving behind me. I could feel my face warming up.
Well, my parents used to take care of their plants sort of like this when I was young. And then I taught myself a bunch more by reading or by trial and error.
She shook her head a little, her gaze fixed somewhere far away.
My family had nothing like this.
Aw, sad face.
There was one grocery store in our neighborhood. We'd have to wait in line for ages, and then the shelves would be practically empty. We had to scrounge and make do with food that was either spoiled or just plain not enough. All these systems you use, if we could have had something like this, then maybe...
Well, my stomach felt tight. This was it. She was starting to open up. She was finally going to tell me where she'd come from, what kind of life she'd had, maybe even what she'd been doing out in the rain on the night. I didn't feel ready. Why was my heart beating so fast? She looked so somber as her mouth came open, hesitant. And then she said,
I love that you wanted to show me all this stuff. But, what do you do for fun around here?
She nudged me and gave me a cheeky little smile. Okay, so much for that idea. I forced my own little smile, averting my eyes.
Yeah, I know. All work and no play. Yada yada. How about this? Let's go make some tea, get something to eat, and I'll show you my video games.
There you go. She nodded, suddenly grinning, just as brightly as she had that morning, as if the day had brought her no sadness at all. She said goodbye to all the fish and went back out into the brightly lit hall. I followed and closed up the room behind us. We ended up spending most of the afternoon playing video games on my tablet and snacking. When I showed Mallory my favorite retro game, rock and roll, obviously, or maybe it was Poggers. Yeah, his favorite retro game, definitely rock and roll, guys. If you guys haven't checked it out on Steam. Just saying. Oh no, never mind. It's the Idle Clicker. His favorite retro game. Clickers aren't retro. Clickers are like new. The idle clicker with just the right balance of dopamine-inducing rewards. She told me she'd played it before with her sister when they were children. She was so excited about this, and once again, her enthusiasm was infectious.
I used to hold the record for fastest speedrun of this game, you know.
You did not. There's no such thing as a speedrun of a clicker game.
Exactly.
And if there was, that record would be held by a bot.
I think she has a point. We tease each other like that, laughing and sharing little meaningless anecdotes, and I didn't notice her shifting closer to me, getting even more comfortable. We were too comfortable. A comfortable silence then took over. Then Mallory leaned against me. AC says, well, we fornicate. Let's go have some fun. Exactly, right? Too nervous to move, I looked down. Her eyes were now closed. She was falling asleep. For some reason, I let her stay there on my shoulder. I studied her. Ornate brooch that she wore on her sweater dress, the cute pin she wore in her silky hair, her creamy skin and narrow shoulders, the plunging white lace bra. Yeah? My throat tightened up. This was not okay. I can imagine the thoughts that's probably going through his mind. Slowly, with a deliberate care, I slid away from her. I used a throw cushion to lower her onto the couch, trying my best not to wake her. I placed a blanket over her. She continued to breathe. I accidentally clicked. Where is it? She continued to breathe deeply in and out, unmoving. According to my clock, it was only just past 7. I was surprised Mallory had fallen asleep so deeply, so quick, basically, already. She looked like she'd been there for the rest of the night, or that she'd be there for the rest of the night. Maybe I shouldn't have let her help me with so many chores. Yeah, we wore the fuck out, I thought, but then I was getting pretty sleepy myself. I crept into the kitchen and was as quietly as I could, made my nightly cup of herbal tea. We'd snacked all afternoon, so I wasn't hungry, but that cup of tea before bed was an absolute must. Addicted to tea like I am to coffee. Carefully, I carried my mug upstairs, settling in so as to not disturb Mallory. It wasn't long before I was dozing off, tea only half gone. My body had been warmed by the fire, which made it all too easy to drift off to a sleep. That night, I dreamt of the chicken coop being empty. There were only traces left behind the hens, and their feathers were scattered everywhere on the ground. Coyotes must have spirited them away, my dream brain thought. I remember pocketing one of the feathers and walking around the woods in search of them. It was a very strange dream, unlike any I had ever had before. Well, I think that is it, guys. Chapter 4 read, and this has been almost 2 hours, a little bit longer than I planned on reading this. But I am thankful for really thankful, because a lot of these visual novels don't have the voice acting that we have here. So I can't help but admire the voice acting. I think it's pleasantly good. I got to admit, it kind of helps the tone of the story and tell the story the developer's trying to say when you hear pretty good voice acting, laughing and stuff like that in certain situations, or, you hear the concern in the voice or whatever it might be. So this is one of the rare visual novels that I played where I've heard voice acting that I actually like. This visual novel so far, I have to admit, is very charming. I think is the best word for it. It's very charming. It's a little bit predictable, but there's other things that are pretty unpredictable, like right now. Like I said earlier, what's going to happen? Is this going to be a heartbreaking tale? Is something going to happen? Is something unexpected going to happen? And that's what happens in a lot of these visual novels, I feel like, is you know, they'll get you going one way, and then they're going to completely turn things around and hit you for a huge surprise at the end or whatever. So we don't know what's going to happen. I'm looking forward to finding out what does happen with Mallory and Gus, as I named the guy. But we're going to go ahead and pick this back up on Wednesday night, guys, in live stream Under the Moonshine number 261. If you guys are just coming in and you haven't seen all this, I highly recommend you take a look at it. And maybe for some of you, maybe you want to even go buy it on Steam, support the developers. And for some of you, you might even want to buy the adult patch. I don't know. But I like this visual novel just as it is myself. I think it's pretty charming, leaving a lot to the imagination as well. AC says, I like that when she was supposed to be eating a strawberry, the voice actor actually had something in her mouth. Yeah, I thought it was really cool. I think this is a very well done visual novel. I like everything from the voice acting to the music changing at times. I like the story's pretty interesting, I would say, but the art is very well done, and not just the art of like her, the art of the mountains and the garden, the house, you know, everything the art is showing, I think is a very well done as well. So I like it so far, guys. I think it's well worth the money so far. I look forward to seeing what's going to happen. I don't know how long it is, but I'm going to guess this one's probably going to be closer to like 6 or 8 hours would be a guess, but that's just a wild guess. So it'll probably take up all 3 live stream Under the Moonshines this week would be my guess. But we'll get a little bit further into it on Wednesday night in live stream Under the Moonshine number 261. And until then, I appreciate you guys being here. Thanks so much for being here, guys, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace, everybody. Take care. Sleep well.